Hey everyone, Goblin here. Just so you know, this is a re-edit of 4 of my older Deepest Lore episodes on the original Mario games. This includes the numbered Super Mario games, the Lost Levels, and Super Mario World. Pretty much the games that were included in the Super Mario All-Stars collection. Every once in a while, if I think that something needs to be added or changed, you'll see this symbol in the corner, so you can tell the difference. Also, I'm going to save the timeline discussion for the end of the video, updated to include the games that we discussed in the years since these episodes first released. I'll warn you, the quality of these episodes is a little inconsistent. The earliest one is from more than 2 years ago, and my processing quality has improved quite a bit in that time, so please keep that in mind. Alright, I'll let you go now. Hope you enjoy.
Mamma mia.
Here we go!
Up until now, we have known Mario and Luigi as regular people. Plumbers, construction workers, carpenters. But eventually, there came a point where they evolved. Where they became something more. In our last Mario video, we discussed them as simply the Mario Brothers. But we know them today as something else. As someone else. As something super. Before discussing much further, we need to talk about which version of the game is the most relevant. There are really 3 notable versions that could take the title. The original NES release, the Super Mario All-Stars remake on the SNES, and Super Mario Deluxe on the Game Boy Color. Going by my regular criteria, I go for the most recent version that added something notable to the game. And as much as it's actually my least favorite version of the game, unfortunately, that title has to go to Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. So from here on that, we will defer to that game in any questions of canonicity. All that said, let's return to this game's story. According to the manual, and yes, Sean, it's actually in the manual this time. The peaceful Mushroom Kingdom was invaded by an external tribe known as the Koopa, who wished to depose the Mushroom King and instead set their own leader, the tyrannical King Bowser Koopa, on his throne instead. To aid in this, they used their dark magic to transform the nation's citizens into blocks, mushrooms, and other items with an inability to fight back. Their only hope lay in the hands of their ruler, the Princess Toadstool. However, knowing that she alone had the ability to undo his magic, Bowser kidnapped her to ensure his reign over the Mushroom Kingdom. And so, the Mushroom Kingdom sat, without a hero to fight for it. For a time. Eventually, news of this insurrection traveled the world, and eventually reached the ears of a humble plumber by the name of Mario. And his brother Luigi. Knowing he couldn't leave the kingdom to its fate, Mario took off to face the invading force for himself. He traveled throughout the Mushroom Kingdom, searching for the princess and her captor. While doing so, he came across 7 false Bowsers, regular minions of the Koopa King, disguised to look like him in order to throw Mario and others like him off his tracks. That said, Mario was very thorough with his crusade, and defeated not only the 7 fakes, but the real Bowser as well. He saved the princess, and, as it is implied by the manual, more than likely, she returned her people to their natural states. Which means no matter what smart people on the internet say, not every block you break in every single Mario game is a dead Toad. Just in this first game. This showed a stark change from Mario as a character. In the past, we had certainly seen him commit great deeds, especially when chasing down the escaped Donkey Kong the First. But this was something different. Not only did the scale of his heroism change, but so too did his entire life. Mario was, from that point forward, thought of as not merely a plumber, but a hero. After this point, he and Luigi are rarely seen back in the Metro Kingdom, where he had spent most of his life up until this point, and instead chose to stay with the people for whom they were seen as saviors. Before we go into the timeline, there's one other game to mention. The Japanese original Super Mario Bros. 2, also known as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, or Super Mario Bros. For Super Players. The story for this game seems to be almost exactly the same as the one for the original Super Mario Bros. This seems to be explained away in the Japanese description of the game, both in the original manual and in the Japanese Virtual Console description, where the game is labeled as taking place in a parallel world. And this, my friends, is where I differ from my older self. In the original video, I assumed that the description of this game taking place in a Sakai, an alternate world, meant that this game was an alternate universe version of the same series of events, similar to the second quest in the original Zelda game. In the time since, after talking to other theorists, it's been made clear to me that this instead refers to the same Bowser taking Peach to another world as a continuation of these events. One night, Mario had a mysterious dream. He dreamed that he was climbing a long stairway that led up to a closed door. When he reached the top and opened it, he found himself gazing out at a world he'd never seen, stretching out to the horizon. Then he heard a voice say, "This is Subcon, the land of dreams. The evil Toad Wart has used his magic to lay a curse upon the land. Please, defeat Wart and free us from the spell." At that moment, a bolt of lightning split the sky, and Mario woke up to find that he had fallen out of bed, the dream still lingering heavy in his thoughts. A few days later, Mario and his friends had hiked to some nearby mountains for a picnic. Upon reaching their picnic spot, however, they found a small cave. When they entered it, they found not a dark cavern, but a bright and dreamlike world. The land that Mario had seen in his dream. The land of Subcon. Hello and welcome to the deepest lore of Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. Before we go any further, if you want to see more Mario lore or just Nintendo lore in general, remember to like and subscribe and do all the things that you can to keep this channel growing. With that, let's get started. Honestly, I don't think I need to explain the story much beyond that opening. The game has next to no dialogue in it. As always, Mario and his team are able to traverse the new and strange land, and defeat its corrupt ruler. In this case, the Toad known as Wart. They defeated him and freed Subcon. Now, none of that is particularly interesting. Wart himself doesn't even show until his boss battle. What I do find interesting, however, is everything else. First of all, the world of Subcon itself is described as a dream world. And this is hammered in throughout the game's story, with Mario initially being called within his dreams, and also the epilogue to the game showing that it too was a dream. So, is that all this was? Was this whole thing just a dream? Well, yes and no. It is definitely a dream, as shown by the ending. But that doesn't mean the events of the game weren't real. To support this theory, we can look at Mario & Luigi Dream Team, another game which partially takes place in the dream world. In this game, Mario is actually physically transported to the world of dreams, showing it to be a very real place. That said, one does not have to be physically teleported to the dream world to get there. In Dream Team, while Mario is physically within the dream world, Luigi is actually asleep in the real world, and his form for most of the game is a mental form known as Dreamy Luigi, which is more likely the same kind of form that Mario and his friends took on in this game. That is, of course, assuming that both Dream Team's Dream World and Mario 2's Subcon are the same dream world, or at least work by the same rules, but I don't think that's a wild leap in logic, given their similarities. This theory is introduced to me by members of the Marioverse Discord server, which is actually a server full of Mario lore theorists, many of whom know more about the Mushroom World than I could ever dream to. So if you enjoy videos like this, I highly suggest you come and talk to the people there. I'm not as active there as I probably should be, but it's a good crew. I'll be sure to include an invite link to their server in the description below. For more proof to that, the events of this game are referenced by characters that didn't partake in them. Namely, there's this Toad in Paper Mario Color Splash. He mentions that, in the dreamlike state they found themselves in during that game's events, they had a dream about an evil Toad named Wart. Not only does this show that Wart really exists within dreams, but also that he was not killed at the end of the game, just defeated, which actually turns out to be relevant later. Wart actually appears or is referenced more than you'd think. Not only is he referenced in Color Splash, but he's also a direct sequel to Mario 2 on the Satellaview. More importantly, however, he also appears as a side character in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, yet another game that takes place inside a dream. Personally, I find it likely that this is not only a nod to the Mario series, but that there is some kind of actual connection there. Though that's something I'll go into more detail on when I talk about Link's Awakening. That's most of the meat from this game, but I also want to talk about the two playable characters who have yet to get much screen time in this series. This is the first time that Princess Peach has been playable in a video game. Period. Large portions of her Smash moveset come from this title, but also shows that she's far more than a damsel in distress. She is more than capable of keeping up with the adventures around her. While she may not be the highest of jumpers, she can use magic to make up for her weaknesses in new and interesting ways. It tells a lot about who she is as a person, even with only the bare minimum of characterization. This is also the first time that any singular Toad has come to the forefront. Before now, they had really only had one appearance, that being in the '85 Super Mario Bros. For the first time, a Toad is introduced as a singular character. One who's quite strong, but can't really jump well. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. In my original video on this topic, I suggested that Mario 2 Toad and Captain Toad were the same character. While it is true that Captain Toad references this game a lot, references alone do not make two characters the same, and Nintendo actually disproved this theory themselves on Miiverse. That said, it's likely this Toad did appear again, a number of times, most recently in Super Mario 3D World, which itself is in many ways a huge shout out to Super Mario USA.
Mamma mia!
Super Mario Bros. 3 was originally released on the Famicom on October 23, 1988. The story told of the Mario Bros. Going on a globe-trotting adventure, exploring 7 kingdoms that have been invaded by Bowser's Koopa troop. This game introduces the Koopalings, Bowser's 7 quote-unquote children, who serve as generals of his armies. The game was later remade as Super Mario Advance 4, which we will be using as the canon version of this title. The game follows a repetitive storyline about Mario and Luigi following behind Bowser as he takes his conquering on the road, attacking 7 different kingdoms. In each, his minions stole a magical wand from the land's king and turned him into some kind of animal. The Mario Bros. Need to find the Koopaling in each world, defeat them, and retrieve the wand so that they may return the baleful monarchs to their original forms. The different kingdoms are known as Grassland, Desert Hill, Seaside, Big Island, the Sky, Iceland, and the Pipe Mix. At the end of the game, Bowser takes the opportunity of the Bros being out and about to once again attack the Mushroom Kingdom, kidnapping Princess Peach and taking her to his homeland. Where Mario and Luigi must face off against the full force of his armada, before defeating him and saving the princess. The advanced version adds an extra world known as World E, where the levels were included on various e-reader cards. When talking about these games, there are 2 major misconceptions I want to get out of the way right now. First things first, the play. It has been the theory for many years that Super Mario Bros. 3 is actually a stage play, given notable stylistic choices, like the inclusion of a stage curtain on the main menu, and many of the blocks are shown to be bolted to the background. This theory went on to be confirmed by director Shigeru Miyamoto in 2015. So, does that mean that we can write off Mario 3 as nothing more than a play? No, we can't. Most obviously, Super Mario World's manual specifically refers to Super Mario Bros. 3 as a canon event that happened just before that game did. So, as long as we can consider Super Mario World to be canon, then some version of these events needs to happen as well. Generally, the idea of the game being a fictional retelling of real events is going to become a running theme in the Mario series, including some instances of Paper Mario and even the arcade version of the original Donkey Kong, so you may want to start getting used to that now. The second misconception is about the 7 Koopalings, namely that they are Bowser's children. Now, this was originally intended to be canon. However, after the introduction of Bowser Jr. in Super Mario Sunshine, their backstory was changed so they're simply young Koopas who serve the Koopa royal family. This change can be most blatantly seen in Bowser Jr.'s journey, where the Koopalings are all shown to be begrudgingly subservient to the bratty prince, rather than fellow heirs to the throne. Also, this is a much more minor note, but this is also the game that introduces recurring mini-boss Boom Boom to the series. Notably, this game showed Boom Booms as being able to grow wings, an ability seemingly ignored in all other appearances except Super Mario Maker. Super Mario World was released as a launch title for the Super Famicom in Japan on the 21st of November 1990, and was later remade on the GBA as Super Mario World Super Mario Advance 2. It featured Mario and Co. deciding to go on a vacation after the events of Super Mario Bros. 3. They chose the remote islands of Dinosaur Land as a safe place to recuperate from that trying challenge. However, not long after they arrived, the bros woke up from a nap to find that Peach had once again been kidnapped by Bowser and the Koopalings. While searching for her, they came across Yoshi, a native to Dinosaur Land whom Bowser had sealed inside an egg. They freed Yoshi, and the dinosaur explained that Bowser had come and sealed not only Yoshi, but all his friends in similar eggs when he had come to take over Dinosaur Land. With that, once again, the Mario Bros set out to beat the Koopa Tyrant and his adoptive children for not only Princess Peach, but all of Dinosaur Land. Once again, much like its predecessors, the events of Super Mario World are rather straightforward. No real plot developments or twists, just a linear progression through the worlds. Or non-linear if you know what you're doing and decide to jump through a bunch of secret exits. But generally, it can be assumed that Mario actually did beat all the bosses in the game like this. Also, interestingly, some of the cutscenes imply that Mario and Luigi actually killed the Koopalings. However, due to appearances in later games, this is factually inaccurate. They're fine. So let's talk about Dinosaur Land. It looks to be a series of islands surrounding a central watery area, separated into 6 main worlds and then having a 7th in the center beneath the ocean. Also, notably, a lot of areas of Dinosaur Land are named after different foods. No real reason is given for that. Each world is ruled by a different Koopa, and some of them feature a new set of mini-bosses, the Resners, Triceratops-like dinosaurs that spit fire and sit on a windmill. The first of these worlds is Yoshi's Island, the home of our dear friend Yoshi. On this island is Yoshi's house, the imposing Kappa Mountain, home of the Yellow Switch Palace, and a castle controlled by the nefarious Iggy Koopa. The second world is Donut Plains, home to the Green Switch Palace and the castle ruled by Morgan Koopa Jr. This world also introduces what will become a Mario staple in the form of ghost houses. Strange and confusing buildings with impossible geometries, where the right exit isn't obvious, and must be found hidden within the level. World 3 is the Vanilla Dome, a large cavern just north of Donut Plains, home to the Red Switch Palace and Lemmy Koopa. World 4 is Twin Bridges, a pair of bridges connecting the mountain Vanilla Dome sits beneath to Cookie Mountain on the northeastern island, crossing Soda Lake in the process. The bridges are referred to as Cheese Bridge, the lower of the two, and Butter Bridge, the higher one. This area was controlled by Ludwig von Koopa. World 5 is the mysterious Forest of Illusion, an area where, if you just follow the intended path, you'll be set in a continuous circle, and you need to really explore and find the secret exits before you can escape. This area contains the Blue Switch Palace and is ruled by Roy Koopa. Chocolate Island is the last normal world, ruled by Wendy O. Koopa. Not much is worth mentioning of the level itself, but upon defeating Wendy, the bros find a mysterious crashed ship in the ocean. This ship is stated in the original game's manual to actually be one of the ships that was taken down by Mario and Luigi during the events of Super Mario Bros. 3. It's filled with ghosts, what's left of the crew, still haunting their place of work. And inside, we find another orb, similar as to what was found in the fortress of Super Mario Bros. 3. Upon receiving it, a massive cave in the shape of Bowser rises out of the water, opening the way to the final world. Now let's take a few minutes to discuss this segment. It only lasts a little bit, but bridges the short gap between Mario 3 and World. It seems that after that game, an airship crashed here, and it was from that wreckage that Bowser drew up his new base of operations. Now this is entirely headcanon, but since the ship doesn't match any of the airships we'd seen in Mario 3 visually, I like to think that the airship belonged to Bowser himself, which took an ill-fated escape from Darkland. The cave was likely created from Bowser's powerful magic in his own image, as well as the rest of the Valley of Bowser, though I wouldn't be surprised if the large cave itself already existed, since it seems to connect directly to other parts of the island. But that would explain why Bowser seemed to have such a firm grip on an island where the Mushroom Kingdomers had only just shown up.
He was already there regardless. Peach showing up was just lucky happenstance.
Inside the valley, Mario and Luigi fight their way to Bowser's castle, where they take him on in his new vehicle, the Clown Car. But like always, they're able to blast him away, save the princess, and escape the Valley of Bowser. putting an end to the events of Super Mario World. But even if that's the end of the story, there are still 2 more worlds we haven't talked about. Dinosaur Land is connected throughout by a mysterious location known as Star World, a star-shaped landmass high in the sky, connected to the surface world by star roads, access points in the shape of stars hidden throughout Dinosaur Land. Not much of its origins are discussed here, but finally, for the first time, we're starting to see what will become the basis for the further cosmology of the Mario universe. Star World and the idea of star roads are heavily linked to the events of Super Mario RPG, but we'll get to that game soon enough. The final world is the Special Zone, which can only be unlocked by finding a secret exit from Star World. There are 8 worlds here, all given some rad 90s names like Tubular, Mondo, and Way Cool. It disgusts me. Joking aside, these are by far the hardest levels in the game, and are a real challenge for any true Mario World fan. Also, let's talk about Yoshi's. Yoshi himself, the first one Mario and Luigi find, goes on to become an important recurring character and close friend to the bros throughout the future of the series. Also, whenever we see a regular Yoshi being hatched from an egg, it's worth mentioning that Yoshis are not born like this normally. We do see actual baby Yoshis in the game who can hatch out of eggs and eventually grow to become adults if they eat enough. This is a more accurate depiction of the Yoshi life cycle. I'd also like to take a second here to once again shout out Project Marioverse, specifically its member Grey Gamer, who proposed the theory that Dinosaur Land is this set of islands just south of the Cascade Kingdom in Mario Odyssey. Here's a picture of the post about it in their Discord. You can find a link to that server in the description below. I think it's a cool theory, and I want to hear what you folks think about it. On the timeline, this game is clearly a direct follow-up.
Well, there we go. It was refreshing to return to some of these older videos and see how far I've come. But also how much of this content in these videos has mostly held up, actually.
Mamma mia.
But you guys aren't here for my self-reflection, you're here for the timeline, so here goes. The earliest of these games is, of course, Super Mario Bros. And the Lost Levels, with one taking place right after the other. These are the introduction of Mario to the Mushroom Kingdom, without question take place after the classic Mario and Donkey Kong era of games, and directly after the events of Mario Bros., which pitted the titular characters directly against the Koopa Troop for the first time. Super Mario Bros. 3 happens not long after. The only game I have between them is Dr. Mario, partially to provide some time between the two, and also because that was when the game was first released. Super Mario World is a direct follow-up to Super Mario Bros. 3, meant to be the characters trying to go on vacation after the stressful events of the previous game, so it goes right after.
Here we go.
But you may notice that we still have one game missing. You'll find it way down here towards the end of our current timeline. I know it's a weird place, but give me a moment to explain. There are 2 things that place this game so late, and they're both Super Mario RPG. In this game, we see 2 important events occurring. The first of these is the hatching of Birdo, meaning all games featuring her take place after the RPG, including Mario USA. Second, the game is portrayed as being Peach's first time being part of the action as a party member. Therefore, every game that places Peach as a main hero also needs to be after Super Mario RPG.
Here we go.
I'll discuss more about where that game goes in the timeline after I've played the remake releasing next month.
Mamma mia.
But for now, this is where I'm putting Super Mario USA. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed this compilation of classic Mario games in video format, and I hope you're also enjoying Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And with that, I'll see you soon.
Mamma mia.